Hello and welcome again to the CMAX Silent Theater. Now this is the home of Cisco Live's Innovation Showcases. Now Innovation Showcases offer a look into the latest innovations from Cisco, not only providing the context, but also the inspiration that IT professionals need to create the world of tomorrow. Now today we'll be exploring the world of inspired teams, and to tell us about speeding up work in the disruptive economy, please give a warm welcome to OJ Vinga.
Okay, so welcome. My name is OJ Winge. I am heading up what we call the Team Collaboration Group. The reason we call it the Team Collaboration Group, and we have changed name, which seems like a small thing perhaps, but the reality is that we believe that agile teams is going to be a very important factor in how business is transforming going forward. So in our Team Collaboration Group, what we do is that we do our meetings room solutions and we do our meetings solutions. So Skype for business, I was about to say, only the interoperability, but WebEx and Spark and our on-prem solutions like CMS. So I guess having been here at the conference, listening to the opening keynote, there is no one in the room anymore, I think, that is doubting the fact that we are in a very changing environment at the moment. There's lots of change happening, and the change is happening faster than ever before. And actually when you talk to CEOs, and this is a survey that KPMG did for global CEOs, 1 year ago, 30% of them said that they had disruptive business models, that they were disrupting in their own industry. In 1 year later, in 2017, 75% of the same CEOs said that they were now being disruptive and trying to be disruptive inside of their industries. So this change is happening more rapidly, and more CEOs is realizing that they need to act. I guess the challenging thing here is that are they able of reacting? And agile development has been something which has been, you could argue, a buzzword, but definitely has totally changed the way we are doing software development. And not only we, pretty much every software developer in the world is using some form of agile software development. And what is that? It is actually totally redo the entire flow of how we write, how we deploy our software. But what has not really happened is that this change in the way of operating hasn't really happened inside of the general organizations. We are still, I would say, trapped in the tyranny of the hierarchy to some extent in most organizations. We are not agile, and as you see from this surveys, the same CEOs are saying that only 6% of them are agile. And that, we believe, is a tremendous opportunity for the technology that we provide. Agile organizations is important for most CEOs because they are outperforming everyone else. From a financial perspective, my previous employer calculates that the agile organizations outperform 1.5x the other organizations. So that's why it is important for them to get into this mode. And in order to be agile, we believe that teamwork is at the heart of this agility. Getting your teams to work together, getting your teams to work in new ways, getting your teams to become less hierarchical, less formal, and starting to enjoy a way more of informal, workflow-based way of working. And here is where our technology comes into play. We believe there are 5 requirements that are core to creating this agile team collaboration. The first requirement is something that has been upon us for a while, and I think it's very, I would say, near and dear to most of us. It's the continuous workflow. Today you need to have access to all your tools all the time. It is not only when you're in the office, it is on your smartphone, it's on your laptop. And we need to give access to all the tools all the time for people so that they can participate when they're mobile and when they're not in the office space. The second principle is around this team of individuals. The tools that we have today most people are using a series of tools combining the business world with their professional life. And they have the expectations of these tools to be way more natural, way more easy to start using than they have been before. I would argue that we as an industry has been having a lot of sins in this area. If you look at what we were driving with unified communications, which was the buzzword in the collaboration industry for quite a while, I think we did one big mistake. And that big mistake was to try to force all the functionalities that we had from our earlier tools into one tool, into one client, believing that there was this one client with all the functionality that was going to save it all. I think the reality became way too complex tools for a lot of people. They had way more functionality than most people were using. I think there's still, though, a lot of users that will like that type of functionality, that are using that type of functionality. But what we're trying with our future tools, what you will see with Spark, is to try to reach those 80% of the users or 90% of the users which are using just the core functionality. So we need to put that in place in our tools. The third element here is around specialized tools. I have grown up performing many roles for companies, being in sales or being in products, and earlier we all used the Office suite for pretty much everything. When I was doing sales forecasting and pipeline management, we did that in Excel sheets before, right? Today people do that in Salesforce.com. I've been running development organizations where we used Word documents and PowerPoints to track progress on our projects. Today we're using tools like Jira that are way more specialized and which are tailoring to the task at hand, rather than trying to be that generalized tools. And this is a very, I would say, strong trend in the industry, that more and more people are starting to choose exactly that tool that solves the problem that they are trying to address. The fourth element is this create, do, disband. And this is creating a tool or having access to any number of the team at any time. I normally compare this with the fact I used to work as a consultant before I entered the IT industry. And our nirvana was when we had this meeting room which we could book for the entire project. And in that meeting room we met, we wrote on the whiteboard, we had, back then we didn't have video, so we had a speakerphone on the table so we could dial out from it. We had all the material that we needed in boxes behind us, so we had access to all the information all the time inside of that room. We didn't stay there all the time. We also went out of that room to go sit down and do more analytical tasks, and when you needed to concentrate, back on our desk, but we always had access to that room. And I think that is what agile teams does today. They are they're getting together, solving a problem, going out, bringing it further along, and then getting back again. And this is what the collaboration tools or the agile team tools for the future need to be able of doing. The last thing is persistence, because there's no doubt that with the changing workforce that we're having today, 20% of the American workforce are contractors as of today. There are new people coming into your team, there are people leaving your team, and having a persistent or a collective memory of the messages, files, and creativity in one space is quite crucial in order to be able of operating in this new world. That is why we have, I would say, taken a big step at Cisco, pushing pretty much everything we have into the cloud, creating a new shared platform where we are enabling people to co-create, communicate, and in an enterprise-ready fashion. A lot of people ask me, why can't we register the Spark board to our CUCM? And will you guys do that? And my answer to that is no. We won't actually do that. And the reasons for that is the fact that in order to be able of delivering the functionality and the tools onto the Spark board, there is no way that we would be able of doing that in an on-prem version. Could you do machine learning or AI on an on-prem solution. That's very, very hard because kind of what you are trying to do is collect that data and learn from that data and predict from that data in a bigger sense. Could you kind of, the file sharing or the whiteboards, where would the whiteboards be stored in an on-prem solution? Kind of how to secure that this works for all the users, for the users inside of your organization and for the user outside of the organization. That is why we are creating a shared platform in the cloud with Spark. A platform, and when we use the word platform, we use it actually in the true sense, because this platform, we believe, is going to be able of taking the modalities that we have had before with calling and meetings, both kind of the audio part of it, the video part of it, and the meetings, towards a team tool, towards the workforce nirvana, as we call it. In this journey, we understand that most customers are not willing to throw out everything they have as of today and start from scratch. Customers are not willing to rip and replace everything they have. And this is why we are trying to create a very, very easy journey for you guys. And that is why we are trying to hold your hand, I would say, through this journey. So to take the example on the video side, all the video endpoints that we're selling today is just with one software load able of registering and becoming a cloud endpoint. So although you have purchased those endpoints over a period of time, there is no rip and replace in terms of getting them to the Spark platform. It is just a software load that you have to do. Taking it from an on-prem kind of through the hybrid video into kind of a fully Spark video capable solution. The same with WebEx. WebEx is a tool used in more than 3 billion minutes per month, right? There's more than 2 million users or hosts of WebEx every week. And it is not very easy to change the behavior on so many users. And that is why in the future of Spark, WebEx becomes the meeting platform. And kind of you will be able of transferring some of your users to start using Spark and entering the meeting from the Spark client. But for the users, that requires a longer time to get used to the team tool way of working. They are perfectly able of joining the WebEx meeting from their WebEx client as of today. So this is a way where we are trying to be, I would say, fairly considerate and kind of very moderate in kind of how hard we are pushing towards the new future. Because I think as IT professionals, we way too often focus on the technical elements of these transitions. And I would say very, very rarely, I think we are taking into consideration, enough consideration, the change management element it takes in order to take people with us on this journey. We had a customer earlier today during the Discovery Day session, which talked about the fact that kind of how they were running usage and adoption, and actually kind of how he as a CIO not was measured anymore on whether the project was delivered on time and on budget. He was measured today upon the adoption of the product, kind of how much was the product used and adopted. And the project was not finished until the adoption was reached. I think this is the future for most of us. I think kind of there's going to be way more scrutiny in terms of, are we investing the dollars in the right way? And this is where we are trying to make sure that we are helping you along this way. We will focus to build a lot of these tools as Cisco built collaboration tools, for sure. Kind of the meeting platform, kind of the messaging platform, the ability to share and whiteboard, and there will be more to come around that. But I think as importantly, and probably I wouldn't say as importantly, more importantly, we are opening up for third-party apps around our platform. And we don't, although we would like everyone to use Cisco end-to-end, and kind of Cisco is where you live, we realize the fact, as I said on one of my pillars, that the software solution or the solutions that you would like to use and the tools you would like to use becomes more and more specialized, and kind of we will not be able of creating all these tools. And this is why we are trying as much as possible to create everything we do as APIs, opening those integrations to enable the people to integrate the good things around Spark and the Spark spaces, the meeting platform and the messaging into their daily work life. And let me give you an example on how that is done with one of our partners, which is Salesforce. So let me do a demo of the Salesforce integration. Do we get that up on the big screen? Here we are. So here I am as pretending to be a real salesperson, right? Inside of the Salesforce opening page. This is where a lot of the salespeople live with regards to storing their information, kind of updating the accounts, kind of managing their sales teams and so forth. What we have done here in our, I would say, very easy integration, it's to also enable Cisco Spark. So what we're having here is the ability to have your Spark spaces as part of the Cisco, or as part of the Salesforce dashboard. We're also, I'm not having an internet connection on the laptop. I guess I have to turn on Wi-Fi. Let us see if it's able of connecting. There we go. Let me try again. I'll try to go back out. Sorry for that. Here we go. So let me go into the Acme account and show you kind of how this is also done inside of the account layout in Salesforce. And we're trying here with our tool to, I would say, almost hide the fact that there is a lot of Cisco Spark here. Kind of this is a regular view for a Salesforce user. So hovering over Margarita here, you're getting her details, going back to the account, and only dragging the mouse over, I'm able of getting the ability to message Margarita or to video call her. Let us give it a try by just hitting video call, and kind of inside of still the Salesforce GUI, and kind of without kind of jumping to kind of a new client or anything, we are able of making a call, and here we are having Margarita welcome us. Hi, Margarita.
Hi, OJ.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good, other than the fact that the Wi-Fi was turned on my computer when I was trying to do the demo, but kind of eventually we got there.
Okay, yeah, you need Wi-Fi.
That is for sure. Connectivity is quite important. So this is the way we have done kind of the Salesforce integration, being kind of, I would say, very lightweight on top of kind of the tools that a salesperson would use in his everyday life. And this is how we intend of doing a lot of these third-party integrations, not kind of forcing upon them our GUI necessarily, but kind of being an integrated part of their tool. So thank you for joining the call.
No worries. Bye.
Bye-bye. So this is one of the integrations. We're doing this with a number of tools, right? And I think we have something like 160 apps at the moment where we have integrated Spark in our Spark Depot, which is a very, very interesting journey for us, a very important journey for us. Could you bring back the pages, please? We are also very well known for our room devices, right? And I'm going to demo some of that for you here today as well. We have the co-create devices, which are the way more interactive way of being in a meeting. And we have the communicate devices, which are more optimized for real-time communication, where communication is the most important thing. And we have a broad portfolio that I think is head and shoulders above what any competitor out there is able of producing in our lineup. But I think as importantly with the nice hardware that we are creating is the intelligence that we are building into the software. There are very, very few, there is nothing more powerful as a sensor with a camera inside of the room for what you're able of doing. You can see a lot inside of the room. When you look at the underlying, I would say, engine of our systems, it is an engine capable of delivering lots of AI and machine learning type of features that will come in the future. And it is an engine which we have integrated with our newest acquisition of MindMeld to also create a product like Spark Assistant, where we can start to ask these systems questions and are able for them to provide an intelligent help through our meetings. User experience is at the top of our priority list around this. And we had some analyst calls earlier yesterday, and the analyst asked me so what is the coolest technology that you guys are going to launch over the next year? And my answer to them is that the coolest technology I think we are launching, that's going to be the technology that you guys don't see. That's the technology that is invisible to people. That I believe is the coolest that we can do. You will see now quite soon how I joined a meeting. Just to give an example, I would say a regular meetings client user or a meetings user is used to in a calendar, clicking a link, entering a 9-digit code in order to get into a meeting, right? It's a quite cumbersome process in terms of all the steps you have to do to join a meeting. When you are hitting a button as you're entering a meeting room in your Spark client, hitting the green button, the meeting starts, and if you're in a meeting room with a video system, the video systems joins the call. That for me is some of the more exciting things that we are able of doing. Reducing the number of steps that the end users out there have to conduct in terms of leveraging this technology. This is back again to the adoption thing for me, that we are able of removing the steps and making the technology way more accessible for the users out there. We are luckily able of creating these inspired teams and making agile organizations. We have a couple of customers which has taken it quite far. I spoke with a customer earlier today, which is actually Signa. They are an Austrian-based real estate company which has been very aggressive lately with acquiring lots of real estate, building a portfolio of more than $5.5 billion of real estate inside of Austria. And they are saying that we are getting way more competitive in our space because we are faster than the email writers, is what they're saying. So they are taking the Spark client, the Spark board, securing the fact that they are able of creating more agile teams and winning more deals for doing good real estate deals out there. Another customer of ours, which is IBM. This is IBM in the Nordics, which is near and dear to me because that's where I work and live. But IBM in the Nordics did a pretty, I would say, radical change. Arne, who is the CEO there, he was very disappointed actually with the Cisco video systems they had. They had video systems in half of the meeting rooms. They were very rarely used, and it was very cumbersome to dial into the meeting service, which there was a service provider providing to them. Very rarely used. The utilization was something like less than 10%, I think, in the meeting rooms. So when they built new headquarters in Stockholm, Oslo, and they're about to do it in Helsinki and Copenhagen, they ripped out everything and they put Spark boards in every meeting room. They even went so far that Arne mandated to remove all the cables from those meeting rooms, leveraging the microphones that are built into the Spark board, leveraging the ability to do wireless sharing, and it has totally transformed the way that the IBM Nordics work, both internally for themselves, but also how they engage with the customers, their customers in the Nordic region. But rather than me standing here talking about these cases, let us do a demo and see how these tools are developing and how they will be able of supporting us in the future. So let me go over to the Spark client here. Could you bring up my computer again? And press that button to join this meeting and see if we are able of getting the Oslo team onto the screen. There's a little bit of shaky network with so many people on the show floor, but let's give it a try. Hello, Oslo.
Hello, OJ, and hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying in Barcelona. I am Tobias, and I'm calling from the Cisco office in Norway. Together with me on the call, I have my three best colleagues, Anne-Marie, Anders, and Lars, and we will soon hear from them. But to kick things off from my side, I'm going to share a presentation, and this will help me to explain a bit about the demo setup we have going on here. So I am in a room in front of a Cisco Spark Board 70 in a meeting room here in Norway. So let me try to draw that out for you here. So this is me standing in front of my Spark board, smiling, all happy with my hair and everything. That's fine, big ears and a big nose. Of course, Oslo is my location, and I am in a meeting room here. And then maybe Lars, you can say something about the room you're in.
Thanks, Matt. We are joining from a different group, so still in winter wonderland, Norway. We have a different type of setup. We are using 2 monitors and a room on top of those 2 monitors. So slightly different setup, but the important thing here for us today is that we can all see and collaborate on the same type of documents like we're demonstrating to you guys right now. So I have my colleague, the drawer and the artist, Anders, now collaborating on the same type of space and document that is also annotating. So I think that concludes that demonstration, OJ.
That's good. That's good. We are experiencing a little bit bad network quality because of the Wi-Fi down here, but I think people are hopefully able of getting most of it. Can you hear me, or did we lose you?
Do you want us to repeat anything?
No, I think just go on and take the next part of the demo.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So just go ahead and do the AI part of the demo.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. So Anne-Marie and I are sitting in the normal meeting room here in Oslo. The view you see of this meeting room now is a typical view you get when the user don't know, don't care, don't remember how to move the camera around. And that's why you don't getting a good experience from Anne-Marie and myself. And this is what we're addressing now with the new range of video systems, where the system automatically find the people in the room and frame them in a good way. So Anne-Marie and myself are sitting here in the meeting room, and now we're gonna have Lars joining us at the table.
Yeah, so Lars will just go on the other side of the table there, and we'll see what happens. We won't say anything because we want the speaker or the camera to adapt even when we don't have active speakers in the room.
So you notice how the system automatically detects that I entered the table and sat down by the table, and automatically adjust for that, so that you guys can get a good experience and so that you guys see everyone in the meeting room. So no need for interaction from the participants around the table. The system takes care of the entire experience for both sides of this conversation.
So let's have a look at kind of how this actually works. works. So I'm going to turn on the diagnostic mode, and you will be able to see how this works a little bit under the hood.
Yeah, so we're dialing you, as we said, from a room kit. The camera is a fixed lens, so it sees the whole room at any given time. And then we're sending out just crops of that. So this gray square right here, that is what we would be sending out to the far end. And you guys can also see on our faces that we have some green squares as well that are kind of following us. So that's indicating the faces in the room, basically. And I have 2 squares on my face right now. That's because I am the active speaker.
And if I start speaking, you'll see that I will get the 2 green squares on my face, and that indicates that I'm the active speaker. But as Anne-Marie and I are sitting so close to each other, we don't change the layout. That was already in the shot. And that makes it, we're trying to avoid as many switches as possible. So we're trying to use the crops that we already used.
One other thing that we want to point out is that the systems are capable of grabbing information from the meeting room. So with our camera sensors, we're actually capturing a lot of information and bringing that data available for you to use for various applications, such as knowing how many people are in the room in that meeting. You can accumulate data that way, and then you can do facilities management in a much better fashion. Say that you have 5 meeting rooms that can fit 10 people, but our endpoints reports that on average we have 4 people typically sitting joining a meeting, right? In that case, you can potentially double your meeting room capacity if you turn those 10-person meeting rooms into 5-person meeting rooms. So it's simple stuff like that this type of information can bring to the table. Our people count mechanism doesn't really care about who you are, what you do, and where you come from. And we'll prove that to you right now if we invite additional people to the table. So that's one coming from the UK, and then one from the other side of the pond. And you notice how the people count in the upper corner will increase as I brought 2 additional guests to this table.
Good. So let's move out of the diagnostic mode, and some of you have probably already noticed that we have our name tags here as well. So the system is capable of recognizing the people in the room. We will use the Active Directory database that we keep of all the employees here at Cisco, where we have one picture of each individual. The system will use the Spark Cloud and look up in the Active Directory database and find out who's in the room. And that way we can provide name tags. This is an active service, so even if this is a little bit future, we wanted to show it to you. So if I disappear, you'll see that my name tag also disappear, and then it comes back. So this is up and running and live. Perfect for people like me that don't really remember faces and names. That will help me quite a lot.
And this is, of course, a technology preview, so it's just something that we are investigating and playing with. And you can imagine the possibilities that we will have moving forward into the future when we can have our video systems recognize who you are and potentially drive from that relevant information, such as content or your meetings that day, push that up on the screen or whatnot. So the future is bright for this type of artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. So far we have been seeing cool new features that the intelligent cameras are providing us. And I wanted to also bring up audio, right? Because for most meetings, audio is the most important thing. And it's a bit difficult to control people's audio in meetings sometimes. You have people often like eating crisps or drinking coffee, or the classic thing, tapping away on their keyboard really hard, right? And that can be annoying for the far end. But we've added artificial intelligence there as well. So we will now demonstrate that to you guys using the classic example, tapping on the keyboard. And we'll just go ahead and start to do that.
And then you hear that the noise was suppressed because it recognized that this was a tapping on the keyboard noise, right? And then remove that from the call. And if Anne-Marie starts to talk again?
Yes, so when I start to speak again, it actually distinguishes the different noises, the tapping on the keyboard, and the human voice, it will then raise our volume again.
Good. That was a little bit about what we wanted to share with you from Oslo today. Hopefully it made sense to you, proving how we can move more value into the meeting room with the Cisco room endpoints, with automatic cameras, with better sound, making sure we have wireless presentation capabilities, and a lot of these other things that goes on top to the actual communication the devices could do. So enjoy Cisco Live. Thanks a lot from Oslo.
Thank you. I'm glad you're clapping, because I will tell you, kind of when you stand there and kind of see that kind of the internet connection is poor, it's kind of not a very pleasant thing to experience, right? But hopefully you're able of getting most of what we're trying to show, although kind of being on a wireless with a couple of thousand people trying to check their emails and their Facebook updates at the same time, it's not always very easy. But hopefully you're able of getting, I would say, the potential of what we are trying to do and kind of the capabilities that we are trying to build into our systems. And I am quite confident with what we are doing now from the cloud perspective, from the client perspective, and from the hardware perspective, that we are going to be able of providing inspired teams inside of your organizations and being able of making sure that your CEOs are addressing the challenge of creating more agile organizations. Thank you very much.